The Challenger. The UES Defiant drifted silently through the uncharted region of the Antares sector, its sleek hull absorbing the distant starlight. Humanity's first deep space exploration vessel was 3 years into its mission to seek out new civilizations and establish diplomatic relations. So far, they had encountered 4 sentient species, all pre-FTL, and eager to learn about the cosmos beyond their worlds. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the stars on the main view screen. At 42, she had the distinction of being the youngest fleet captain in Earth's United Space Command. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her uniform bore the patches of 17 previous missions, all successful. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures ahead," reported Lieutenant Kai Tanaka, the ship's sensor officer. His fingers danced across the holographic interface. "It appears to be artificial, some kind of propulsion system, but unlike anything in our database." Chen straightened her posture. "Classification: unknown, Captain. But the readings suggest it's large, much larger than the Defiant." "Yellow alert," Chen ordered. "Tactical: bring weapons to standby. Communications: prepare first contact protocols." The bridge crew responded with practiced efficiency. The Defiant's mission was peaceful exploration, but humanity had learned the hard way that the universe wasn't always welcoming. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, announced Tanaka. The massive ship that appeared on the view screen drew audible gasps from the bridge crew. It was at least 5 times the size of the Defiant, with a design that suggested both function and intimidation. Angular protrusions that could only be weapon emplacements lined its hull, and its propulsion system glowed with an eerie purple light. "That's not an exploration vessel," muttered Commander Samira Dawn, Chen's first officer. "Open hailing frequencies," Chen ordered, her voice betraying none of the apprehension she felt. Communications Officer Eliza Okafor nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Chen straightened her uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Ship Defiant. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and wish to establish diplomatic." The view screen flickered, revealing the humanoid figure with pale gray skin, 4 violet eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what appeared to be bony ridges instead of hair. The alien wore an ornate uniform with gleaming insignia that suggested military rank. "I am High Commander Zex Varick of the Vraxian Empire," the alien announced, its voice translated through the ship's universal translator with a metallic timbre. "Your vessel has entered territory claimed by the Eternal Throne. You will power down your systems and prepare for boarding and inspection." Chen exchanged a quick glance with Dawn before responding. "Commander Zex Varick, we were unaware this region was claimed territory. Our star charts show this as unclaimed space. We would be happy to share navigational data and—" "Your ignorance of galactic law is not our concern," interrupted Zex Varick. "The Empire claims all space within the reach of our vessels. You have 2 minutes to comply with boarding procedures, or we will disable your ship." The transmission cut off abruptly. "Well, that was diplomatic," Dawn said dryly. Chen turned to her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rivera, analysis of their weapons capabilities. Rivera studied his console with concern. "Their energy readings suggest weapons far more advanced than ours, Captain. If they're hostile, we couldn't win a direct confrontation." "We're not here to start a war," Chen replied. "But we're not surrendering the Defiant either." She tapped her comm badge. "Bridge to engineering." "Engineering, Commander Okonkwo here," came the response. "Raj, I need options. We might need to make a quick exit. The quantum drive isn't designed for tactical situations," Captain Okonkwo warned. "But I could give you a short burst, maybe enough to get us clear if needed." "Stand by." Chen turned to her science officer, Dr. Takahashi. "What do we know about these Vraxians?" The slender Japanese scientist frowned at his readings. "Nothing in our database, Captain, but I'm detecting communications traffic in this region. Considerable traffic. It appears to be a heavily used space lane, despite how far we are from any charted systems. Chen made her decision. We're not surrendering the ship, but let's not provoke a fight we can't win. Helm, plot an evasive course out of this region, maximum sustainable speed. Let's see if they follow. Course plotted, Captain, responded Lieutenant Park at the helm. Tactical, keep shields at maximum. If they fire, do not return fire unless I give the order. Chen tapped her comm again. Okonkwo, be ready with that quantum burst if we need it. Aye, Captain. The Vraxian vessel is powering weapons, Rivera reported tensely. Evasive pattern Delta, Chen ordered. Execute now. The Defiant banked sharply, its engines flaring blue as it accelerated away from the much larger ship. Almost immediately, the space where they had been erupted with purple energy, a warning shot. They're pursuing, Tanaka reported. And they're fast, matching our velocity. They're hailing again, Okafor announced. On screen, Chen replied, her face set with determination. Zex Varric appeared again, 4 eyes narrowed in what Chen interpreted as anger. Your evasion confirms your hostile intent. The Empire does not tolerate resistance. Your ship will be added to the Imperial fleet after we subjugate your crew. Chen's jaw tightened. We have no hostile intent, Commander. We are simply not willing to surrender our vessel to an unknown power. If you wish to establish diplomatic relations, the Empire does not establish relations. We conquer. Your species will learn this lesson, as all others have. The transmission cut off again. They're charging weapons, Rivera warned. Full barrage this time. Chen didn't hesitate. Evasive pattern Omega. Raj, we need that quantum burst now. Initiating quantum drive. Okonkwo responded. The stars on the view screen seemed to stretch and blur as the experimental quantum drive activated. For 3 seconds, the Defiant existed partially outside normal spacetime, before reappearing several million kilometers away. Drive stabilizing, reported Okonkwo. But we can't do that again soon, Captain. The induction coils are already showing stress fractures. Damage report, Chen asked. Minor hull stress, but shields held, Rivera replied. We're lucky they weren't expecting us to jump. Captain, Takahashi called from his station. I've been analyzing the communications traffic in this region. It's troubling. Chen moved to his station, looking over his shoulder at the data streaming across his screen. What she saw made her blood run cold, logs of ship movements that could only be slave transports, communications about resource extraction from subjugated worlds, and tactical data on Imperial conquest patterns. The Vraxian Empire appears to span at least 70 star systems, Takahashi said quietly. They're a conquering force. They subjugate any species they encounter and strip their worlds of resources. How far to Earth? Chen asked, the question hanging heavily in the air. Takahashi calculated quickly. Based on their propulsion capabilities, perhaps 15 years at their maximum speed. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth, still relatively new to interstellar travel, would have no chance against an empire of this size and technological capability. We need to warn home, Dolman said, breaking the silence. Chen nodded. The quantum communicator can send a message, but a warning alone won't be enough. Earth needs to know what they're facing. Their weapons, tactics, weaknesses. Weaknesses, Rivera asked skeptically. Did you see the size of that ship? Everything has a weakness, Chen replied firmly. We just need to find it. Over the next week, the Defiant moved cautiously through the outskirts of Vraxian space, gathering intelligence while avoiding detection. They observed a disturbing pattern. Worlds stripped of resources, entire species reduced to labor forces, and a military presence that enforced absolute control. On the 8th day, while hiding in the shadow of a gas giant, Okafor made a discovery. Captain, I'm detecting encrypted communications on frequencies outside the Vraxian standard, she reported. They appeared to be designed to avoid Vraxian detection systems. A resistance, Dawn suggested. Possibly, Chen agreed. Can you locate the source? Okafor worked her console. The signals are scattered and relayed, but the nearest origin point appears to be in the Proxima Lyrae system, specifically a moon orbiting the fourth planet. Chen studied the tactical display. That's deeper into Vraxian territory, which means they wouldn't expect us to go that direction, Dawn pointed out. Chen considered their options. The Defiance mission had fundamentally changed. They were no longer just explorers. They might be Earth's only warning about a threat that could arrive in just a few generations. Set course for Proxima Lyrae, she ordered. Maximum stealth mode. We need allies and information if we're going to find a way to protect Earth from what's coming. As the Defiant silently adjusted course, moving deeper into the territory of an empire that had conquered countless worlds, Chen knew they were now playing a dangerous game. But sometimes, the greatest risks led to the greatest discoveries, and humanity's future might depend on what they found. Behind them, Vraxian warships began to spread out, hunting for the first human vessel to ever enter their space, a small exploratory vessel that had done what no one had done in centuries, defied the Empire, and escaped. The coming days would determine whether that defiance was humanity's first step toward a terrible war, or the beginning of the end for the Vraxian Empire. The Revolution. The UEA's Defiant hung motionless in the shadow of a cratered moon, its systems running at minimal power to avoid detection. Captain Maya Chen studied the holographic display, showing the underground facility they discovered. After 3 weeks of careful observation, they had confirmed that this was indeed a resistance outpost. The signal patterns match the encrypted communications we've been tracking, Lieutenant Okafor explained. This appears to be one of the central hubs of whatever resistance exists against the Vraxians. Chen nodded. Time to make contact. Prepare a shuttle. Commander Dawn, you have the bridge. Captain. Dawn objected. Protocol suggests. Protocol went out the airlock when we discovered an empire that enslaves entire species. Chen replied firmly. I need to assess these potential allies personally. 4 hours later, Chen led a small team including Science Officer Takahashi, Security Chief Rivera, and Communications Officer Okafor into a winding tunnel beneath the moon's surface. They carried only essential equipment and sidearms set to stun. They had barely gone 50 meters when the tunnel suddenly blazed with light, and they found themselves surrounded by armed figures. These aliens were tall and lithe, with iridescent blue-green skin and large, multifaceted eyes. Their weapons were pointed directly at the humans. Don't move, Rivera warned his team quietly. One of the aliens stepped forward. Identify yourselves and your purpose, it said in a melodious voice that the universal translator rendered perfectly. Chen slowly raised her empty hands. I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth ship Defiant. We are hiding from the Vraxian Empire and detected your communications. We seek allies. The mention of the Vraxians caused a ripple of whispers among the aliens. The leader studied them carefully. Humans, it said finally. We have intercepted transmissions about your kind. A ship that defied a high commander and escaped. The Vraxians have put a bounty on your vessel. The alien's multifaceted eyes gleamed. I am Kaleth, coordinator of the resistance network in this sector. How do we know you're not Vraxian collaborators? They have used such deceptions before. Because we refused to surrender our ship and barely escaped their battlecruiser 3 weeks ago, Chen replied honestly. We've been gathering intelligence ever since. This seemed to intrigue Kaleth. You challenged the Vraxians and survived. Few have managed that. After a moment's consideration, Kaleth lowered his weapon slightly. You may come further, but your weapons stay here. Chen nodded to her team, and they placed their sidearms in a container provided by the aliens. Kaleth led them deeper into the facility, where they discovered a surprising sight. Representatives from at least 6 different alien species working together in what appeared to be a sophisticated command center. The resistance network, Kaleth explained, gesturing to the bustling activity. survivors and rebels from dozens of worlds conquered by the Empire. We share information, resources, and occasionally, the alien's mouth formed what might have been a smile. We caused trouble for the Vraxians. Over the next several days, Chen and her crew learned the tragic history of the region. The Vraxian Empire had expanded relentlessly for over 2 centuries, conquering any civilization they encountered. Kileth's own species, the Ellerin, had once controlled a dozen star systems before the Vraxians reduced them to a subjugated labor force. Only a few thousand had escaped to form the core of what became the Resistance. "We fight where we can," explained Tizen, a stocky reptilian being who coordinated guerrilla operations. Sabotage, intelligence gathering, rescuing high-value prisoners. But we lack the strength for direct confrontation. Chen shared what the Defiant had learned about Vraxian technology and tactics, carefully building trust with the Resistance leaders. In return, they provided invaluable intelligence about Vraxian fleet movements and vulnerabilities. On the 5th day, Engineering Officer Raj Okonkwo made a breakthrough while studying captured Vraxian technology. Their quantum field stabilizers operate on a standardized frequency, he explained excitedly to Chen and the Resistance leaders. Every ship in their fleet uses exactly the same configuration, probably for ease of maintenance across their empire. "And that matters because," Kileth prompted. "Because it's a massive vulnerability," Okonkwo replied. "If we can generate a targeted quantum resonance pulse at precisely the right frequency, we could temporarily disable their systems. Engines, weapons, shields, everything." Chen leaned forward, suddenly alert. "How temporarily?" "Maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5. Depends on how quickly their automated systems can reset. That's enough time to gain a significant advantage in battle," Rivera noted. "Or enough time to escape," added Tizen. Chen studied the technical data with intense focus. "Can we adapt this technology to the Resistance ships?" "Not all of them," Okonkwo admitted. "But the larger ones, yes. We'd need to build special emitter arrays calibrated to the exact frequency." "Make it happen," Chen ordered. "This could change everything." While Okonkwo worked with Resistance engineers to develop what they began calling resonance disruptors, Chen and Dawn helped coordinate a bold new strategy. The isolated Resistance cells that had been fighting separate battles would now work together, using the Defiant's quantum communicator to coordinate their efforts across Vraxian space. The first test of their new strategy came 3 weeks later. Intelligence from the Resistance network had identified a Vraxian labor colony where thousands of prisoners from a dozen species were being worked to death in mineral extraction facilities. "It's heavily defended," Kileth warned during the planning session. 3 Vraxian cruisers patrol the system at all times. "That's why they won't expect an attack," Chen replied. "Especially from a direct approach." The plan was dangerous but elegant in its simplicity. The Defiant would approach the colony openly, appearing damaged and adrift. When the Vraxian ships moved to capture them, they would activate the prototype resonance disruptor. Meanwhile, Resistance ships would emerge from hiding places within the system and attack the orbital facilities. 2 days later, the Defiant floated into the Vraxian labor system, trailing debris and venting plasma like a wounded animal. "Vraxian cruiser approaching," Rivera reported from Tactical. "They're scanning us." "Everyone hold position," Chen ordered. "Let them get closer." The massive Vraxian ship grew larger on the view screen, its weapon ports glowing with energy. "They're hailing us," Okafor said. "Ignore it," Chen replied. "Let them think our communications are damaged." "They've locked a tractor beam," Tanaka reported from sensors. "They're pulling us in." Chen waited until the Vraxian ship was at the perfect distance. "Now." Okonkwo activated the resonance disruptor. A pulse of invisible energy spread outward from the Defiant. On the view screen, they saw the lights on the Vraxian ship flicker and die. The tractor beam disappeared. "It worked," Okonkwo exclaimed. "All Resistance ships, attack now," Chen ordered over the secure channel. From hiding places throughout the system, 24 smaller ships emerge, ranging from retrofitted mining vessels to ancient military craft. They converged on the orbital facilities, while the Defiant disabled the other Vraxian cruisers one by one. The battle was chaotic but brief. The combined forces overwhelmed the surprised Vraxian defenders. Within 2 hours, the orbital facilities were under Resistance control. Shuttles began transporting freed prisoners to the waiting ships. Dr. Lin Zhao, the Defiant's chief medical officer, worked tirelessly treating the former prisoners. "Many of these people have been here for years," she reported grimly to Chen. "The Vraxians don't care if they live or die." As the last of the freed prisoners were evacuated, the Resistance forces planted explosives throughout the mining facility. The Defiant led the makeshift fleet away from the planet just as the charges detonated, destroying years of Vraxian work in a series of brilliant explosions. The successful raid sent shockwaves through the Empire. For the first time in living memory, a Vraxian facility had fallen to Resistance forces. More importantly, it ignited hope. In the weeks that followed, the Defiant led increasingly bold strikes against Vraxian targets. Each success brought more allies to their cause. Species that had been conquered for generations found new courage in the stories of the human ship and its growing fleet of Resistance vessels. On the Vraxian throne world, Emperor Zex Krovian received reports of the growing rebellion with cold fury. "Find this human ship," he commanded his generals. "Destroy it, and everyone who aids them." The Vraxians assembled their greatest fleet, 6 massive dreadnoughts, each capable of devastating an entire planet, and dozens of support ships. This armada had only one mission: hunt down and eliminate the UES Defiant. The Resistance network soon brought word of the approaching danger. "They're coming with everything they have," reported Rivera as he studied the intelligence reports. 6 dreadnoughts and dozens of support ships. Nothing this size has been deployed in 50 years. To his surprise, Chen smiled. "Exactly as we planned." The others looked at her in confusion. "Don't you see?" Chen walked to the holographic star map. "They're pulling ships from all over the Empire to form this fleet, leaving dozens of systems with minimal protection." Now the Resistance leaders understood. While the main Vraxian fleet hunted for the Defiant, other worlds would have their chance at freedom. "But we still need to survive their attack," Caliph pointed out. Chen nodded. "And we will." "Raj, how many ships have we equipped with resonance disruptors?" 35 so far," the engineer replied. "Not enough to take on their entire fleet in direct combat." "We won't fight them directly," Chen said. "We'll let them find us, exactly where we want to be found." The plan was daring. The Defiant, along with a small contingent of Resistance ships, would lure the Vraxian fleet to the Maelstrom Nebula, a region of space where electromagnetic interference would hamper long-range sensors. Hidden throughout the nebula would be the remaining Resistance vessels, equipped with resonance disruptors and ready to attack when the Vraxian fleet was fully committed. "What about the command ship?" asked Caliph. "It will be at the center of their formation, protected by the dreadnoughts." "Leave that to us," Chen replied. The Defiant has one more surprise. While the Resistance forces prepared, Okonkwo and his engineering team worked around the clock to modify the Defiant's quantum drive. If his calculations were correct, a precisely calibrated quantum jump could take them directly to the coordinates of the Vraxian command ship, bypassing the defensive screen of dreadnoughts. "It's never been done before," Okonkwo admitted. "The risk of materialization error is significant." "What happens if there's an error?" Chen asked. The engineer hesitated. "Best case, we emerge somewhere else entirely. Worst case, the ship's atomic structure could become unstable." Chen weighed the risk against the potential reward. "We'll proceed as planned." 3 days later, the trap was set. The Defiant and 5 Resistance vessels appeared at the edge of the Maelstrom Nebula, making no attempt to hide their presence. Almost immediately, long-range sensors detected the Vraxian fleet changing course to intercept. "They've taken the bait," Dolan confirmed. "ETA to intercept, 7 hours." Chen addressed the combined crews of the Resistance fleet through the quantum communicator. This day will be remembered as the beginning of the end for the Vraxian Empire. Every species they've conquered, every world they've stripped bare, every life they've enslaved. Today we strike back not just for ourselves, but for all of them. When the massive Vraxian armada arrived at the nebula, they found the Defiant and its small escort apparently attempting to flee deeper into the electromagnetic storm. The dreadnoughts formed a wide net, planning to surround and destroy the rebellious vessels. Emperor's flagship identified, Takahashi reported, highlighting a massive vessel at the heart of the Vraxian formation. It's surrounded by 2 dreadnoughts on either side. Perfect, Chen said. All Resistance vessels, execute attack pattern Omega on my mark. As the Vraxian fleet moved into position, the trap was sprung. From hiding places throughout the nebula, 30 Resistance ships emerged simultaneously, each activating their resonance disruptors. The effect was devastating. Across the Vraxian fleet, ships suddenly went dark, their weapons and engines disabled. Now, Chen ordered. Okonkwo initiated the modified quantum jump. For a terrifying moment, the Defiant seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Then it vanished, only to reappear seconds later directly alongside the Vraxian flagship. Resonance disruptor at maximum power, Okonkwo called out. The pulse hit the flagship at point-blank range. Every system on the massive vessel shut down instantly. Boarding teams go, Chen commanded. 3 shuttles launched from the Defiance Bay, carrying Rivera and a mixed team of humans and Resistance fighters. They breached the hull of the disabled flagship and fought their way through to the command center. 20 minutes later, Rivera's voice came through the comm. Command center secured, Captain. We have the Emperor. The Resistance forces systematically disabled the Vraxian fleet, ship by ship. Without central command and with their systems repeatedly shut down by the resonance disruptors, the once mighty armada fell into disarray. Some ships surrendered. Others attempted to flee, only to be disabled and captured. 3 days later, Emperor Zexcrovian, flanked by Rivera and Caliph, was brought to the main Resistance base. The once proud ruler looked diminished without his imperial regalia. You will transmit the surrender order to all Vraxian forces, Chen told him. The Empire ends today. You think defeating one fleet ends the Empire? The Emperor sneered. The Vraxians have ruled for centuries. We will rise again. Not as an empire, Chen replied firmly. Your worlds will join the new Galactic Confederation as equals, not conquerors. Your technology will be shared, not hoarded. Your resources will benefit all species, not just Vraxians. The Emperor had no choice but to comply. Over the following weeks, the surrender order spread across Vraxian space. Some commanders resisted, but without the central authority of the throne world, and faced with a growing alliance of liberated planets equipped with resonance disruptors, resistance was futile. 6 months after the Defiant's first encounter with the Vraxian Empire, representatives from 27 species, including a delegation from Earth that had arrived via quantum communicator coordinates, gathered to sign the charter of the new Galactic Confederation. As Chen watched the signing ceremony, Dawn approached her. "Congratulations, Admiral," she said, nodding to the new rank insignia on Chen's uniform. Chen smiled slightly. "I was just doing my job, exploring strange new worlds, seeking out new civilizations, and toppling an empire that has ruled for centuries," Dawn added wryly. Chen's expression grew serious. "The real work begins now. Building a peaceful alliance will be harder than defeating the Empire." "True," Dawn agreed. "But if one human ship could bring down an empire, imagine what we can all accomplish together." As the ceremony concluded, Chen looked out at the representatives of worlds that had been enemies or strangers just months before. The human ship that had defied an empire had ignited something more powerful than any weapon: hope. And with that hope came the promise of a galaxy where exploration and cooperation would replace conquest and subjugation. The UES Defiant had set out to discover new civilizations. Instead, it had helped birth a new era in galactic history, one where humanity would take its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as architects of peace.